Welcome to HortTube. My name is Jim Putnam. I'm back down at the Bristal Briar with Jeremy. Jeremy and Megan have made a kind of a life decision, and we're going to talk through them actually leaving this garden. So you want to tell anybody enough about where you're headed?
Yeah, so Megan and I made the decision. We're going to leave the Bristal Briar. We're heading to Bellingrath Gardens and Home, which is in Mobile, Alabama. I have been named the director of horticulture there, which is a huge step up. But that means that we're going to have to sell the Bristal Briar. So that's it's a difficult decision for both of us, and it's been an amazing 12 years actually. November of 2011 is when I closed on this house, and Megan's been here for the last 5 years of that time. So
it's a good 12 years here or more.
There's a lot of emotions that go into, and a lot of memories that go into to leaving this garden.
So I get the first of all, before I jump to that, Todd Lassane, I did. There's a video on the channel at Bellingrath with Todd, and then I'll get down there once Jeremy's established down there, and we'll do some additional content down there at Bellingrath. And there's a video on the channel if you want to go and take a look at that. And Todd is an NC State guy. Okay, so I got the question all the time. I left the garden in Johnston County, which I had raised a child on, and done. We had had a lot of memories there. But I had grown up in the city of Raleigh, and I had an opportunity to move near downtown, and and have slightly different lifestyle, being able to walk, ride a bike, do all those kinds of things. And that was part of the garden doesn't. I'm not letting the garden hold me back from this thing that I want. So for you, what's the thinking?
Well, this was late November 2011. I remember as soon as I took the for sale sign down on this property, the first thing I did after that was I did donuts in the front yard with my truck, because I always wanted to do donuts in somebody's yard. And here, look, I got my own, so I just did it here. But I told myself that no matter what this garden becomes, it must not stand in the way of my horticultural, my career goals, and my belief that horticulture can benefit everyone. So I want to be as much to have as much impact in horticulture as I can, and so here as a director of horticulture, that's pretty center stage.
Right. Yeah, in a very well known garden.
Very well known.
Yeah, very well old established garden.
Yeah, tens of thousands of visitors every year.
Yeah.
So it's an amazing opportunity, and it's not only tough to leave the Bristal Briar, but also Plant Delights Nursery and Juniper Level Botanic Garden, that organization too. Yeah. That's a hard decision, but here we are, and so Megan and I are heading out. And you're right, it's not easy, but there's some things which we must be prepared.
Right. To
leave in order to move.
Yeah, that's the way it is. And who you've got before we're going to jump in. This video is going to be some of Jeremy's kind of memories here in the garden, and we've got a few photos of where things started. But just in terms of selling, you've got some flags down in the ground for things that you're going to take with you.
Well, yeah, one thing that I've learned and learned with a more specific language about how it works is, if you're selling a home, any plant that's growing in the ground that you can't just move. So potted plants are one thing, but in the ground means that as soon as an offer is made on the home, that plant is part of the home and is no longer something you can take with you.
Right.
And so we've put several flags in, and all the flags that we put out here actually will not really affect the overall aesthetic. Most of these things are very hard to find. The red flags means I'll be taking that plant with me. The orange flag, if any of those, that means I'm taking a division. I'm not even taking the whole thing. So.
But this is in the contract. This is in the description of the house.
Exactly.
Includes, we're going to be taking a few plants, and you can go and see because the flags are there. It's not like you're hiding.
Correct.
And most of the things I see you've got flagged are things that you're not going to get it all anyway.
Exactly.
You're going to get a piece of it.
Yeah, so I'm digging up. Actually, what I flagged here was one of these Lilium formosanums.
Okay, which we did in the video last time, and they had no flowers, and now they're blooming like crazy.
Absolutely gorgeous. So I just want that clump, but there's 1,000 more here.
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff, things that aren't going to, I'm not looking to dig up big trees. I don't even have time for that, to be honest. Megan and I, we've got to get everything else ready to sell. So
yeah. Well, let's jump in and talk about some of the history of the garden. The first thing Jeremy's going to tell you is something that I've said a bunch of times on this channel, and I think it's something to really learn. In the Q&A I have for Sunday, somebody was asking why their purple dwarf loropetalum are green in August.
Yeah.
And it's because they're 3 or 4 feet apart, and the sun is beating them. And the sun is beating the roots on them, and that's what turns them green.
Okay, yeah.
You know, it's just like we put these plants in and we space them according to how wide they're supposed to get in whatever time frame that is, and then leave them that way. And the sun really works on them. That's not a natural way for a plant to grow. So how did you start this thing?
You know, I moved in and I did a lot with the soil right away. But you know, it takes 10 years to grow a 10-year-old tree. It takes 100 years to grow a 100-year-old tree. So
this is good math,
right?
yeah, right.
I think that a lot of people miss that point, and they want something right now, or they plant the entire thing with something that locks them out from having fun for the next 10 years. And so what I did is there were a few things like, and I talk about it. I've talked about in the other videos here, the metasequoias over there, the cercidophyllum, taxodium, the bald cypress hedge, the green giant hedge. All of these things take years to really do what they are supposed to do. In the meantime, either I didn't know really what I wanted, or I know I couldn't afford it yet, or I just wanted to have fun and learn and do things wrong, intentionally in some cases. So one of my favorite experiences here, one of my top 5 favorite experiences here in the Bristal Briar, has been the annuals, the seasonal things that, growing things through time, where the annuals are kind of like the second hand on the watch. And so the whole front yard has been anything from sunflowers.
And I've seen it as corn.
I mean, hey, I'm from the Midwest. I can't help it, actually. So just ornamental grass even. So, you know, I can go to Big Bloomer's nursery down in Sanford. You could get little cell packs of Nacella, you know, which is Mexican feathergrass, or Muhlenbergia capillaris, just the pink muley. And I would plant 72 of them, or, you know, plant hundreds of square feet and just see them go. And I was really, really, really excited because that also meant that I get to light it all on fire in the fall, which I don't recommend for everyone, and you certainly have to check the laws in your neighborhood and your city, but it was an opportunity that I had. I was able to burn the grasses, and just wish fulfillment. In the backyard, this whole backyard, almost the entire thing, has been one giant pumpkin patch. 3,000 square feet of okra one year. I wanted to see what would happen if I planted a large area in a well-known cover crop, a nitrogen-fixing cover crop called hairy vetch. It's so much fun to grow. So I've planted all kinds of course, poppies are all in the front.
So you were planting some longer things that were going to take a while. They were going to take a minute. And in the meantime, you've got bare ground.
I had bare ground, but you plant things, and some things were planted as row crops. Some things were planted just scattered the seed, and really get to know your property. Then you get to know your soil, and just to get to experience the joy of growing plants while everything else is taken off. So if my dream garden was a bunch of loropetalums spaced a bit far apart, then they could be green in the middle of summer and it wouldn't bother me because I'm enjoying an even darker green.
You could do that over here. But so what we did is we just came in and started vinca from seed and started dwarf zinnias from seed and just plugged them in the middle of it. That shading of the roots, it's incredible the difference between something that, I think people think they're going to not have enough water that way. Somehow that they will be, when in fact you set up a situation where it actually collects every bit of water that falls.
And keeps the soil where the evaporation is happening. It keeps that humidity layer at the surface, and it keeps the soil cooler, so it's not evaporating as quickly.
So anyway, I was right there with you. We've done annuals as a, I don't think people would want to do as many annuals as we do, but they don't realize I'm going to do less over time. I'm just waiting for these things to,
That's
to
right.
take the
That's
space that I allotted for them. And once they forcefully take the space, they own it.
That's right. In the meantime, cover the ground, have fun.
Yeah.
And even if those things that you're planting seed everywhere,
Yeah.
a friendly weed is a friend indeed. Another one of my most favorite experiences of the Bristal Briar through the years has been watching the way that light moves, that shadows move, and it changes every year. So, for example, this bald cypress hedge, again, we've talked about this in some of the other videos. In the morning, the light shines directly through it, so from the east. And so right now, behind me is east-northeast. So you can see the sun come through there, and just these lines of shadows going all the way across the line, the lawn, and getting shorter and shorter. Over there, you know, in the afternoons, the big holly hedge, you get to watch the shadows slowly creep forward across the lawn the other way. And then watching shadows grow over time. So, you know, this is something, I planted these in 2012, sometime in the spring of 2012, early on, these beautiful Cercidophyllums. And this all used to be lawn. This was full sun. Of course, that's a south-facing sun coming blasting in here. But now it's super dense shade. It's absolutely delightful. It's always like a draft of cool air that comes through, it drifts in from the north through this cooled space. But getting to watch the shadows and the shady areas grow a little bit each year, and of course that affects planting decisions. But just memories can bring me back to when I stuck these beat up trees in the ground back in 2012. 11 years ago, I can't even believe it myself.
So a lot of what makes this garden special is the stone, and we've done several videos on your big stone project that you just completed, and other places in the garden where you have very specialized plants growing in intentional, specialized spaces. You know, raised, whatever. I probably said that poorly, but this was where your stonework kind of started.
These, you can barely see them now, but these are the very first stones. And stacking stones, and not just stacking stones, but stacking stones for the plants, for the diversity of the garden, to grow plants that maybe they might be so small that they would just be lost in a normal garden. That's been one of the great joys that I've had in the Bristal Briar, and certainly those 60 tons of stone that are in this garden, I'm going to miss that.
Especially if you're going to go redo it down in
because I'll just have to start all over again.
You can't take the stone with you, can you?
In the last 13 years, in the last 15 years, since I've lived in the Raleigh area, I've stacked 3 million, 4 million, I mean millions of pounds. I guess I lost count in the millions somewhere. But it's a lot.
And a lot at juniper level.
Yes, no, and that's the main.
Right, and if you guys go to Juniper Level Botanic Garden, which it should be a bucket list garden.
Yes,
honestly, it should be a bucket list garden, and it may not necessarily get some of the attention that the ABG will get, you know, the Atlanta Botanic Garden or Chicago Botanic Garden, or those get. But boy, when you get there, there are so many things you are only going to see in that garden. And it's just, that's the only garden I can go to and kind of go, ooh, there's some gaps in my knowledge.
Let me just write that one down. That's really cool.
There's some significant, you know, most of the gardens I go to, I'll find something I haven't seen. But that one,
it's half.
It's like half of the stuff. I'm like, what in the, oh wow, I didn't know that even existed. But anyway, so the stonework you plan on when you guys settle down there, having a similar type of.
We'll source stone. We'll get it where we can and build gardens that reflect the nature of the stone that we have to build with. I wanted to start here. I don't think we've ever really looked at this wall, which again is barely visible at this point.
Well, it's got all the plants. You've stacked the stone in such a way that you could plant in it.
Absolutely.
A lot of people are going to stack the stone in a way that I want to make all the lines flat, and I want to make everything line up perfectly. And you intentionally will take that stone and turn it sideways so I can put a plant in it.
I want it to look like nature just pushed it there.
And
I think the greatest compliment that I can have for my stonework is that plants will cause it to fail.
Oh, yeah.
You know, if a tree, and in this case this red buckeye that I planted in there, as I was building the wall, if that red buckeye pushes those rocks out and causes the wall to fail, my job is done. This is great. That is so exciting.
Right, and that's what plants do on the planet anyway. They break rock.
Yes, they do.
Plants and water and ice.
There's
break rock.
There's an entire family of plants that includes, I think, heuchera and maybe strawberries and saxifrage, but it's the Saxifragaceae family.
Yeah.
And that literally means rock breaker in Latin. Yes, I want plants to really fill these crevices. I stack stone for the plants. These were the first ones that I stacked in the Bristal Briar, and I remember that day. And this is the emotional part of it. The 2 pallets arrive. It was 2 pallets of stone, my very first 2 pallets that I was able to buy. They get delivered. It's a December day. I think it was December 2017. And they arrive. It's one of those December days. It's like in the 30s. It's pretty cold.
Yeah.
And it was misting and drizzling all day. And I'm out here in a short sleeve shirt. And I'm like, stack, plant, stack, plant, stack. And I stacked the 2 pallets in one day because it was so amazing to finally have stone of my own.
Yeah.
And honestly, that joy, that excitement of cutting the wire on a new pallet of stone, that's never dulled, not one bit. And so
awesome.
I'm excited to do that in the Mobile area as that can be done.
One thing we'll add before we move to your fourth thing. There's the little very cool, what do they call that stepped down space? You know, the little walled garden that's there. We had it in our video with Todd. The thing, it actually has a name for whatever it is, where you walk down those steps.
I think
in
it's
that
the
stone.
Rockery.
The Rockery.
Yeah, I believe
the
that's
Rockery
what that is,
at Bellingrath.
Yes,
which needs some work. I imagine that you will be.
I'll try to find a stone guy while I'm there.
Right, yeah. But the Rockery is really interesting.
Yes.
And for a very hot place like Mobile, when you walk down into that Rockery, it goes 10, 15 degrees cooler.
Yes, it does. Obviously, the biggest joy that I've had here in the Bristal Briar has been when Megan came here with me and building the garden with her, and so many of the best parts of the Bristal Briar are thanks to her, and there are things that we did together, and certainly that's the most difficult thing for us to leave, are the things that we've built together. This koi pond, and there's let's see, we've got tengu, we've got Brahmin, Sturgis, Taco, and Moby, which is her favorite. We all love Moby. So we've got 5 beautiful koi. They're going to come with us to Mobile, so we've got that. We're not going to leave them behind. But those are our water puppies. And of course, this deck is made so that we can have bonsai, and she taught me a great deal about bonsai. She worked with him when she lived in Japan. She was there for 3 years working with bonsai and koi. She actually helped take care of the emperor's koi, which is a pretty big job. And so we built something. We buried a gas tank together so that she can cook with gas. She loves that, and she says that any self-respecting cook would certainly want to cook with gas, so we did that. She helped me build berms. She helped me stack rock. I know that one of my favorite memories with her when we were building the koi pond is I was rolling these 200-pound rocks, 100 to 200-pound boulders into the water, and she was stacking them, because in the water the stone is much lighter. It's obviously sinks like a rock, but it is much easier to lift in the water than it is in the air. So that was one of my favorite memories. She helped me build that berm over there. And another thing that we did together is we built so many of these beautiful just driftwood or deadwood fences together, garden fences. They're not keeping anybody or anything out, but they're aesthetic. And we built those together, and it's going to be hard to leave those behind.
One of the things that should be really hard to leave is not just a garden, but if your neighborhood has participated in it some way, or so tell me about how that's gone for you in this neighborhood.
Well, I just mentioned, Megan and I built little garden fences, but we've always heard, I'm sure we've all heard the old saying that good fences make good neighbors. In the case of the Bristal Briar, good neighbors make good fences.
Yeah, right.
And so, this beautiful fence here, I designed it with one of my neighbors, and he installed it.
Yeah.
He's an amazing carpenter. He put the windows in our house. He replaced their windows. He built the tops on our gazebos.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. You can't put a price tag on good neighbors. Across the street, there's always an empty seat on his couch and Sunday NFL ticket. So it's always a place. And he and I've shared many plants with them over the years, and they've developed quite a garden themselves. A neighbor over there, after I went through 2 different professional painters, and he's a professional painter, but I went through 2 of them because I said I want the paint brushed on the house. So I wanted to transform our home from being manila envelope colored to a beautiful brown that it is now. But I said, can you brush it on? He's like, yes, I can. And he did it. I had 2 painters before. They insisted, we only spray it on. It's like, I watched the Karate Kid. I said, I know how this works.
Well, I had the same experience in the old neighborhood, which was kind of a blue collar neighborhood, of which I was definitely one as a landscaper and a young nursery owner. Those guys, in exchange for any information I had on their lawn or their shrubs or their plants, then I could get something at cost, and we'd all install it together. That's right. I had a guy that cut hair in a garage every Wednesday night. You know what I mean? Right. Whatever. Nothing. You put beer in his refrigerator, and as long as there was more beer in there than when you came, which was not all the time, but it was just that was part of leaving it, was that I was one of the contributors to a bigger group of people that knew how to do lots of things, and we could do lots of things without ever leaving.
That's absolutely.
You don't go get breaks done anywhere else. You don't have to leave the neighborhood for that.
Or your hair. You can get your hair done while your breaks are being done.
Pretty much.
And be drinking beer all at the same time.
Pretty much. And that was the way that neighborhood was. And I probably missed that as much as anyone, because I can go plant plants, and I can, you can do these rocks, and you can do lots of things, and you can be the plant collector, and you're carrying some of it with you. But relationships are more important. Yeah.
This is that's a community. And even our subdivisions, even our HOA is awesome. And you never hear anybody say, I love my HOA.
Right.
I've never heard anybody say that.
Well, you can put corn in your front yard. These other folks watching cannot put corn in their front yard.
Cantaloupes in the ditch. My garbage cans are visible from the street.
Oh, wow. Oh my gosh.
A neighbor has a basketball hoop.
Yeah, right.
What an awful place to live.
Yeah, right.
We have such wonderful neighbors here at the Bristal Briar that we're even, there's a certified realtor who lives in the neighborhood. And her name is Amy, and you can contact her. Yeah,
I'll put the information down below. If you're interested in the Bristal Briar, a very established garden.
It's not bad, right?
No, it's not bad. The garden comes with a house.
You get a house too.
That's like Bellingrath Gardens and Home.
And Home.
And I always forget, Todd made sure I said that at the end. I was like, and Home.
It's been quite a transition from where I was always looking in the future. To now seeing the past, and the day that I planted this, and then the next 3 days that I transplanted it to different places.
Right.
Stacking the stone, watching the
right.
first dump truck full of good soil back up and drop it. And like I said, those first 2 pallets of stone and the 30 pallets since. Just all of those memories, just like they were yesterday. What happened to the last 13 years? I was in my 20s when I moved here, 29. And here I am. I'm
back then. You were coming to the farmers market, hanging out with me. It's about time you bought this house. You would come to the farmers market and hang out with me on Saturday. And I quickly knew that your knowledge was outpacing mine when you had the job at at Juniper level, at Juniper level. I was like, you're coming in going, you ever tried to grow any whatever? And I was like, what, huh? So, there's the space between us. I'm catching back up is what I'm doing. But thank you so much. I think everybody's enjoyed the videos here and your perspective on gardening, and and we'll catch up with you down there for sure.
And thank you, and thanks Stephanie for the opportunity to really broadcast this garden and Megan and I's hard work and part of our life.
Yeah.
Thank you for broadcasting that.
Yeah. You're welcome. I mean, I think everybody's loved all the videos that we've put up at this place.
It's been such a great experience from so many different angles, and we're confident that the good times will keep on rolling. It's a transition. We're going to we're closing the door on this garden.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you guys for watching. We'll catch up with Jeremy and Megan down in Mobile County. I'm always in Baldwin County, which is on the other side of the Mobile Bay, but we'll get over to Mobile.
Stone's throw away. Just throw it right over the bay.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we'll be over in Mobile County soon with them.
Yep.